Shalom, everybody. This is Warrior Green, and I am the artistic editor, the video editor, the editor-in-chief, wearing all hats. Excuse me, wearing all hats for artisticministry.net. And I just wanted to do this this video. Hopefully, it's going to be a brief video, but I kind of doubt it. But it is. This is in response to a reply that was left to a comment that I had left on someone else's channel, another TI's channel, about. I'm going to put it to at least, I think I left that comment a few, maybe, I want to say, maybe even almost like a year ago. But this person recently left a comment on it, and so I had replied to their reply, and then they replied back, and we went back and forth for a bit. And I want, granted, when I was making my replies to this individual, I was in the middle of a fast, and so the Spirit was moving me to share all of this. And I realized that as I got to paragraph number 3 in this comment, that maybe it was a bit too big to leave in this comment. So I decided to turn it into a video for that person, and also decided to for my subscribers as well, because I know that with all that I have going on, I rarely do I leave videos, just personal videos. I know I did a lot at when I first started this channel, and now I've branched out into another channel for the ministry, in which you can find the link to that in the corner of the bottom corner of the banner on this on the homepage for this channel, Peculiar People. And now I've got the third channel, which is for I have an interest. I'm just like a fan of just combat sports. Just a lot of like boxing, jiu-jitsoo, MMA, stuff like that. And so I put all that on that channel over there. It's called Artistic Jiu-Jitsu. And I might put a link for that in the description box. And by the way, thank you everybody who has voted, given an opinion on their choice as to which song they prefer for the latest video that I'm going to put up over there. It's if you want to vote, it's the video right that I just did. I think it's called Your Opinion Requested Please. So if you want to vote in that and just get a look at what I'm talking about and hear the music, just click on that video and just go immediately to, I think it's like 8 minutes and 14 seconds for the first video, and then like 11 minutes at the 11-minute mark for the second video, and choose which song you like. It's the same video, it's just different tracks, but choose which song you like, and then leave your choice down in the comment section. But okay, so what I wanted to just share, this is again, this is what came up for me, what I was moved to talk about in that comment section. And basically it's going to just explain a little bit about my stance that I have on a certain issue in terms of dealing with witch-stalkers and gang-stalkers. And I wanted to share why I have that stance. I think I've talked about this before in the PSA that I did for the artistic ministry, and also in I think I talked about it a few times in the for that series that I was doing, Postcards to a TI. But I wanted to talk about it again, but this time go a little deeper into just why I have why I've got that opinion and that stance. And basically, this individual was sharing how the people that started gang stalking them, that it was their friends. It was from the people. For many of us, it's true for a lot of us, where the people that do the most damage to us are the ones that are closest to us, because they have easier access to us. They know the tender points, they know the pressure points, and our weaknesses and our flaws, and they can exploit them easier. And that was something that this person was sharing. Also, a lot of bitterness and just resentment and hatred about how they didn't get the life that they had wanted, that they had been originally set out to create for themselves, the career, the educational goals, just the relationship, marriage, those things that they were robbed of behind these people who were supposedly friends. And so I started to write, a response to that. And then again, like I said, the comments started. By the time I was on the third paragraph, I decided, okay, this is getting a little, it's better if I just talk and just say it in video format. So that's basically what this is. And what I wanted to share was a little bit about, just go a little bit deeper into my background. And I, like a lot of TIs, I'm a private person as well, because many of us we've had our privacy, we've had our lives, our histories just ransacked by these perps in their efforts to try to find embarrassing things, condemning things, and just to get, just to find whatever they can find to use against us, to exaggerate, that they can then use for character defamation, and just throw up in some directed conversation and get us frazzled and upset. And so there's a tendency to, in many instances, to be really to be private, and I respect that, and I definitely understand that. But this is I decided that I need to talk about this, just to explain why I have the stance that I have on this. And basically, a little bit about my background. Um, I'm let's see, I'm an adult toddler and alcoholic. I've been a member off and on for many years for Al-Anon. I've done a lot of recovery, early childhood recovery around just childhood abandonment, molestation, just a lot. And in doing my childhood recovery, I started to go really further back into my recovery, and I literally have, at this point in my life, I have just included the Most High and asked Him to reveal even more to me, in order to deal with generational curses, in order to deal with family members, because if you share DNA with X number of thousands of people on the planet, we know that anyone who's aware of what it is that I'm going to be talking about, that these demons, that they follow bloodlines, they follow DNA, literally. It's not your gender, it's not your race, it's not your career, it's not the part of the world that you're in. It is your DNA. That's what they follow. And so, to clear up as much of that gunk as possible, to be free of some of these witch stalkers, it is, especially if you're a messianic TI, it behooves you to do repentance for your sins, but also for those of your ancestors, your grandfathers, your grandmothers, great grandparents, so forth and so on, just to clear up those generational curses, to ask the Most High to forgive them, to forgive you, to literally wash all of those sins off of the bloodline, off of you. You literally have to do that. And so it's interesting, when I started doing my recovery, I had no knowledge of this. If you had told me these things were possible, even as a believer, it would have been hard for me to accept it. But now I know, I understand it, I get it. I have firsthand experience in this now, looking at my childhood, looking at my ancestral background, looking at literally laying my lineage, my history, the actions of me, my parents, my grandparents, the information and history that has been passed down to me, laying them next to the curses, the punishments that are listed in the book of the law, in Deuteronomy 28, in Leviticus 26, and literally seeing them word for word. I don't need to go through the curses and then compare statistics from some neutral database or some Google search to know that literally, that me and my ancestors, that we are descendants of the house of Jacob. I just have to go through my history and look at my personal history, my family history, and it's all there in black and white. But in the process of doing that, I started through, with therapy, I was literally diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome disorder, because of the memories, because they started coming. And anyone who's ever dealt with that knows that it's not something that's a dilemma, that's a problem, a malady that is not reserved for just soldiers coming back from war, from veterans of war. It's something anyone who has suffered a traumatic experience, from a car wreck, a severe car wreck, to any type of severe physical assault, physical attack. It's anything that is dramatic and traumatic to the psyche. There is that post-traumatic. It's after the trauma. It's post-traumatic, after the trauma, that creates the disorder, where anything, loud noises, sudden movements that can trigger a memory and such like that. I started to deal with that. It was on a mild level, but it was there nonetheless. And the memories, I learned to be able to distinguish between what I call a real pure memory, which is like, literally, if anyone who's familiar with movies, how when they're literally using the camera as the viewpoint of the main character, it's literally the lens of the camera. So literally, seeing memories of the close-up of my mother's face, of my mother's hands when I was an infant, and her handing me a bottle, and then me literally seeing a little hand taking the bottle. Literally memories of just me sitting on my mother's lap while she's reading, and not from like an outside view where I'm seeing a woman holding a child, but literally just seeing just like a huge book with a bunch of huge words in front of my face. That's the memory. And then seeing a little hand and then a big hand move the little hand away. Literally, I mean, that's those are what I call, those are pure real memories. And then you have memories where it is where they're kind of told, where someone tells you, well, when you were, for example, somebody might say, well, when you were 5, we went to Disneyland. And they say that enough times, and you see some pictures where you and your cousins, your aunt, your uncle, your mom, your dad, where you're at Disneyland. And so that memory is given to you. You may not necessarily remember it, but because you were told that so many times all your life, that at 5 years old you went to Disneyland on your birthday, and you've got some pictures that confirm it, well then therefore there it is, they've given you that memory. So there's a difference. I'm not talking about those memories. I'm talking about literally where my body is there and I'm literally seeing through my eyes events that are occurring. I can't see what's around me unless, of course, the camera turns and that's what I'm looking at. I'm talking about those types of memories. And so one of them was I'm the youngest in my family. I have 2 siblings that are older than me, 2 brothers. We are all like 2 years apart. So when I was 4, my middle brother was 6 and my older brother was 8. When I was 8, my middle brother was 10 and my older brother was 12. I mean, literally, it was set like that. And I started to get memories back of literally seeing the rungs. That's literally what's in front of my eyes, are the rungs on my crib, and then their faces through the rungs, and hearing them talking about me. Literally, my brother's looking in the crib of their baby sister and talking about me. I started to have just memories, not full memories, but just like snippets, flashes. The majority of us do not remember our childhood in 3D Technicolor from the day that we're born up until now. I mean, I don't even think that's possible. But I think that for many of us, we can. There are certain memories, certain scenes and such that we do remember, and that's literally what started to happen to me. Early memories, and one of them was literally me and my middle brother. I just see like a close-up of his face, talking to me and hearing his voice, and then just like literally looking down and seeing our legs, and seeing his legs were touching the floor, because I think we were sitting on it was either a couch or the edge of a bed, but his feet were touching the floor, but seeing my feet, and they were just like dangling, barely even reaching the floor. And so that and I know the memories that I'm getting ready to share happened before I was in kindergarten. And I went to kindergarten when I was 5, and I went to first grade when I was 6, second grade when I was 7, third grade when I was 8. And so again, if I'm in kindergarten when I'm 5, then he would have been 7. So if this is memories that happened before I was in kindergarten, so that means it was before I was 5 years old. So if we are small enough where my feet are still dangling, can't even touch the floor, then clearly I had to have been at least 3. And literally the first memory is literally seeing his face close up in mine, and then our legs, and he's talking to me, and hearing him saying, what we're doing is bad, this is wrong, we're hurting people. This is what he was saying. And I can remember my response was trying to say, I could kind of get what he was saying, but I didn't understand it, and I was saying, but so-and-so likes it. And I was referring to an adult, to one of our an adult member in this family. It wasn't our real family. It was just the community that we lived in. And I know a lot of black folk, and I think Latino people have it, where you refer to people as your aunt, your uncle, your cousin, your grandmother, but they're not really blood related, but you're close enough. The relationship is so tight knit that your playmates, they are your cousins. It was kind of like that. We were literally what you would call pew babies, meaning we were literally raised in the pews of the church. Literally, the church was right down the street from our house. Literally, when you talk about the people that clean the church, that was us. We were the ones cleaning the church on the weekends, literally going through the yard, moving out all the big rocks, the big sticks, so that the older cousins could come through and on the lawnmower to cut the lawn. Literally raised in the pews of the church. And these people who were, for all intents and purposes, aunt and uncle and, grandmother, grandfather, cousin, older cousin, this, such and such, they were, some of them served as like the pastor of the church, or the deacon of the church, or the choir director, or the usher, Sunday school teacher, so forth and so on. It was a very small community like that. But literally, my brother was saying that. But what we're doing is we're hurting people. This is wrong. And I can remember saying, but so and so likes it. This is good. And then the next memory is me sitting in the front room of the house that I literally was brought to by my mom from the hospital when I was born, literally in the front room of that house, and sitting on a sofa. And on the sofa on the other side of the room, that front room, were these dolls. Many of them were like life-size dolls. Like if I was, and I remember this was before I went to kindergarten, and I went to kindergarten when I was 5. And this was before that. Okay. So literally, I had to have been at least 3 or 4. And these dolls were literally as tall as me, if not bigger. Not by much, but bigger than me. And some of them, the majority of them were white, but some of them were black. And they were just, they were like, some of them were like, the entire sofa was filled with them. Literally, the dolls were sitting there. Some of them were on the back, because the sofa was against the wall. So some of them were on the top, like the top edge of the sofa. Some of them were on the side. And I remember that there were these 2 huge, like, gargoyle statues. I don't know, I can't remember if they were like wolves or dogs or whatever. I think one of them might have even had wings or something, but they were on either end. Like it was like they were like in front of the dolls. And this was in the front room of this house. And I always thought that the kind of like those, they were like guarding the dolls. And it was like and I remember always being told, don't you play with them dolls, don't you mess with them dolls, don't even think about it. Literally, me and my cousins, we were not going anywhere near those dolls. It was clear that was not supposed to be happening. But I can remember sitting on a sofa that was across from that. And I was sitting there. A woman came in literally the front door and sat in a chair that was right there by the door. And where she was sitting in that chair right there by the front door, the door at the other end that went to the rest of the house, you could not see her at the door. So literally, in the way she sat, it was clear from her body language that she didn't want nobody knowing she was there. But she was sitting there, and this was right after the conversation. I just remember this is like another snippet that happened right after the memory of my brother trying to tell me that we were doing something I remember him saying, we're hurting people, and this is mean. And I didn't know what. I just remember saying, but so-and-so likes it. That's where I was at with it. But the very next memory that I have is of this woman. Literally, I was sitting on the sofa across from the sofa that had all the dolls, and the giant kind of like gargoyle type wolves or whatever with the wings that were on either end of them, in front of them. And she came in the front door and kind of sat in the chair. And she started talking to me really friendly, like, oh yeah, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? And I remember saying to her, this was a conversation I was having with this woman. And I was literally saying, we're getting ready to go to church. And she was like, oh, you like that? And I remember saying, yeah, I like Jesus. I like Jesus. And I'm going to go to heaven and be with Jesus because that's where he's at. I literally have this memory of saying this. And she said to me, well, no, what you guys are doing, you're going to hurt people. You can't go to be with Jesus if you hurt people. And I remember literally saying, then I'm not going to hurt anybody anymore because I want to go back and be with Jesus. And she said, really? Are you sure? And I said, yeah, I want to go and be with Jesus, so I'm not going to hurt anybody anymore. She goes, are you sure? I don't believe you. I said, no, I'm serious. I'm not going to hurt anybody anymore. I promise. And I got up from that couch. I went back into I ran out. I never saw that woman ever again. Don't know who she is. Don't know her name. I just see a vague memory of her face. She was kind of like light complected and had on glasses. That's literally all I remember. And then I remember getting off the couch, running back, and then telling all these adults that were in one of the back rooms, what we're doing is wrong, and we're hurting people, and if I keep hurting people, then I'm not going to be able to go back and be with Jesus, and I want to go back and be with Jesus, so I'm not doing this anymore. And let me just say this to just cut this off and make a long story short. From that day to the day that I left there for college, my life was a living hell. I went through a lot of abuse, a lot of torment, me and my brother, my middle brother, definitely. And it's the Most High returned these memories to me because basically what it does is it fills in the gaps. It explains some things. It explains the intense hatred and just the literal cruelty and viciousness that we suffered at the hands of these people. And why? Originally, some of the abuse I remember basically at the start, I just remember it was trying to get me to renounce that and to go back to doing what it is that they were doing. And anybody who knows me knows that that's not the way to work with me, because all it basically did was it made me just hunker down even more. And after a while, that hunkering down in the face of that abuse became the way that I carried myself around them. Knowing that I was going to be abused by them, knowing that I was going to be made fun of and picked on because I was very sensitive, and knowing that I was just going, I don't care, so what? So, I'm just not going to do what you say. Literally, that became my way of literally dealing with them. And after a while, I couldn't even tell you why I was doing that, why I had that attitude. I couldn't even tell you why they hated us. But literally the times that I do remember there were times when it would get so intense that I would literally, as a 10-year-old, as a 12-year-old, I remember literally saying to some of these people who I still refer to as cousins and aunt this and uncle that, and literally saying, I never did anything to you. Why do you people hate me? I never did nothing to you. What's wrong with you? I don't do those things to you. And every once in a while, a kind of like a look or a flash would pass through over some of their faces, and I knew that there was something there, but I could never remember what it was. Now, of course, I do. I get it. I filled in with more memories that, are personal that I'm not going to get into, but I definitely understand that basically what was happening with these people was that many of them, not all of them, but there was a percentage of them that were caught up into witchcraft Satanism, and they were literally members of that church, and they were literally using it as a front. And we know that literally that is what is starting to come out more and more. A lot of more people are coming out and they're talking about that. They're talking about the witchcraft that is in these Christian churches, and we know that that's something that goes back to the very beginning. That those early believers. I'm going to see if I can find that where they spoke of that. If we look in the New Testament, let me see if I can find that real quick and I've mentioned it, I've referenced this a few times in the podcast that I did, this fiery trial. But we know that one of the things that Jude, who was the brother of James, one of the things that he talked about in the New Testament, starting at verse 4, he says, "For there are certain men crept in unawares, who were before of old ordained to this condemnation, ungodly men or unrighteous men, turning the grace of our Elohim into lasciviousness, and denying the only Master Elohim and our Master Yahushua HaMashiach." Okay, certain men crept in unawares. They literally, in the Old Testament, one of the titles for those types of men or women, it's called the sons of Belial, just wicked men. These were the ones who were cohorts of Jezebel when it was time to lie on, I think it was Nahor, to get the land for for her husband. He wouldn't sell him the land. I can't think of his name right now. It's right there on the tip of my tongue. But he wouldn't sell him the land, so she said, "Don't worry, I'll get the land for you." And she literally, one of the things that she did was she took the king's stamp or his seal and wrote a letter and sent it to these sons of Belial and told them to say that they had heard Nahor saying, "I heard him blaspheme the Most High," or something like that. But those men, those sons of Belial, is a title that was used for these just wicked, just really just low down, wicked, evil men. And they were also part of, one of them who during the life of King Dawood, Melech Dawood, King David, who used a defamation of character when he had to, I think it was when he fled from Absalom, was literally there cursing him and throwing rocks at him when they were literally fleeing. Literally just, I mean, these are, when you're talking about someone of that category, you're talking about someone who's just really just the wicked and the lowest of the low. But this is what Jude is saying, that certain men crept unawares into the body of the Messiah and gained positions of authority. And we know, anyone who knows the history of Christianity knows that excuse me, I'm sorry, I apologize for that, but they know that that these were the individuals who gained those positions, became those bishops, became those archbishops, those cardinals, who were basically in control of the church during right before and during what is called the Dark Ages, on up into the Middle Ages, on up into now. That the formation of the church by Constantine and all, those were the sons of Belial. They were not the honest, righteous saints and believers of the Messiah. That's not what was going on. Those individuals, the righteous ones, had already been killed. Those positions had been taken over by the wicked. But this is what was happening in that church where I was like literally raised as a pew baby. But the reason I share that is this: being raised in that type of an environment, with that type of abuse, with that type of cruelty being leveled against me as a child from literally 3 years on up. How do you think I acted when I went to school? Do you think I was just nice and polite and just so not a mean bone in my body and just would never hurt anybody? Of course not. I went to school, I acted out, I didn't necessarily hit you, but I had a mouth on me, as I've said many times, and I'll say it again, even up to this day, a title that you can use for me: Mouth Almighty, Words Everlasting. And at the age of 6 and 7 and 8 and 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, literally, I could, by the time I finished calling you names and getting in your face, and you this and you that, and your mama that, and your granddaddy this, and your grandmammy that, by the time I finished, you hated me as if I did hit you. That's literally the way it was. But the question is, where does a child get that from? How would they even know to even say some of the things I can remember saying to people? I remember I was in 3rd grade and I threatened this girl. I said, "And I will beat you until you're filled and sanctified with the pure and precious Holy Ghost." Everybody looked at me like, what in the world? Literally, these were the words that came out of my mouth in 3rd grade as a 9-year-old. I remember saying that to someone. But I say that to you to share this. That is what gets you enemies, childhood enemies. That is what, when those children, when they go home and they tell their parents, then she said she was going to beat me until I was filled and sanctified with the pure and precious Holy Ghost, and I don't want to go to school anymore. I don't want to go to that school anymore. Literally. And so you think that, let me just break this down for you, because this is obviously turned out to be a much longer video than I thought it was. But clearly you understand that when I leaped down off of that sofa and I went back there and I told that room full of, clearly, witches and warlocks, "I'm not doing this anymore because I want to go back and be with Jesus, and this is mean and we're hurting people, and I want to go back and be with Jesus." You think my name didn't end up on a list? Yeah, I think the answer would be yeah. Zipporah, yeah, it probably did, considering what we know about these witches. The real deal, not these ones who are running around here, I don't know, with black fingernails and heavy mascara and listening to 9 Inch Nails. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the real deal. These real ones. Literally, these are the ones when they talk about Babylon, land of the babies. What do you think they do to the babies? If they're able to do things to babies, what do you think they're going to do to a 3-year-old who comes back and says, we're hurting Jesus. Now I want to go back and be with Jesus. I mean, literally, the 3-year-old doesn't get, okay, this is a facade. We're not really into Jesus. We hate Jesus. We're here to show our hatred of Jesus by ruining anyone who comes to him looking for Jesus. What is it you're saying? Literally, so clearly my name got put on a list there, okay, by these people. So what do you think happens when that child, who is now all of a sudden just a victim of abuse and neglect and just cruelty and hatred, when that child goes to school and then acts out that cruelty and that hatred on other kids? You think some of their parents didn't have clout? You think some of their friends didn't put me on a list? Yeah, they did. Okay, let's just keep it real. Let's just keep it real. So I share all that to say this. Now here I am as an adult dealing with intense stalking, hatred. I mean, and you some of you, anyone who is a victim of witch stalking, gang stalking, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, I don't even need to. If you really want to know some of what I've been have been dealing with, go back and look at some of the earlier videos that I did right around at the beginning of this channel, where I talked about my experiences as a TI, my experiences as a victim of gang stalking. But these are the things that I had to deal with now, and still some of it has, because I have literally am underneath the grace and the blood of the Messiah. Much of that has subsided. A lot of that sin, a lot of those demons have been washed off of me. But I think that what it is that I wanted to, the reason I'm even sharing all that is because, well, let me just read this to you. Now that I've shared that, then this will make sense. Here we go. Then came Peter to him and said, Master, how oft shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times? Yahushua saith unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him, which owed him 10,000 talents. But forasmuch as he had not to pay, his master commanded him to be sold, and his wife, and children, and all that he had, and payment to be made. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Master, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. Then the master of that servant was moved with compassion, and loosed him, and forgave him the debt. But the same servant went out, and found one of his fellow servants, which owed him 100 pence. And he laid hands on him, and took him by the throat, saying, Pay me that thou owest. And his fellow servant fell down at his feet, and besought him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. And he would not, but went and cast him into prison, till he should pay the debt. So when his fellow servants saw what was done, they were very sorry, and came and told unto their master all that was done. Then his master, after that he had called him, said unto him, O thou wicked servant, I forgave thee all that debt, because thou desiredst me. Shouldest not thou also have had compassion on thy fellow servant, even as I had pity on thee? And his master was wroth, and delivered him to the tormentors, till he should pay all that was due unto him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you, if ye from your hearts forgive not every one his brother their trespasses. Now you see there, so this is what I was starting to say in that comment section, was to talk to this individual who was a victim of targeting by people, friends who betrayed, who literally stole this individual's life away, was to start to talk to them about the importance of forgiveness. Because, and I just use my own life as an example, because that's the best one and the only one that I really am qualified to talk about. Excuse me. But literally, here I am in a situation where I have, because of the experiences that I had as a child, in a home where the front was, we're Christians, we're this and we're that, but we're kicking and we're beating and we're knocking this individual downstairs and molesting this one and leaving this one to her own devices at the age of 3 and 4, and she can barely even comb her hair, let alone severe neglect and so forth and so on, then going out and acting that out and creating enemies, being mean and hateful to other people, not just as a 4-year-old, but on up until as a teenager, literally, clearly in a community where some people literally probably remembered who I was, and therefore that probably gave them some twisted sense of pleasure, knowing, oh, now look at her. She was going to sit up here and go back to heaven and be with Jesus. Now look at her picking on people, jealous of everybody, hating on people. This is good. This is good. This is creating negative vibrations in her life. This is putting sin on her. This is putting stains next to her name in that Lamb's book of life. Oh yeah, we got her. Clearly, by the way that me, my brothers, my cousins, the way that we acted out in that community, it was very obvious what was happening in our childhood home. And seriously, anyone who spends time with children, you can tell the ones where something is clearly not okay. They're acting in ways that they shouldn't be acting. 6-year-olds shouldn't be saying certain things. They shouldn't know about certain things, but they are. Basically, what they do when they act like that, they're telling on their families. They're telling on themselves unknowingly, but they're telling on themselves. They're letting anyone who's clued in know, okay, this is what's happening in that home. Okay, this is why this child is acting that way. So clearly, there were teachers, there were guidance counselors and such who knew what was going on. But one, because of the area of the country that we were in, the time period, there was not going to be anyone offering any type of help. I live now in a more like a liberal like area in the Bay Area where there is help for children who are victims of severe neglect and abuse, and just it's you can see the signs, you can see the indications a lot sooner, and there is more of a concerted effort to address those issues, but not in the Midwest, not in the Bible Belt. Okay, in what we call the flyover states, okay, where there ain't nothing there, ain't nothing to do but fly over them because you don't want to stop and be there if you don't have to. That's where I was raised. That's where this was happening. This was something like this was my community was like down the street and around the corner from the community where the children of the corn where they were living. Okay, this is kind of what you if you can get that, if you can get what I'm talking about. But this is where I was at. So yeah, so when I literally made that choice as a little girl, telling these people I want to be with Jesus, so I don't want to hurt anybody anymore, and literally turned them into my enemies. As my enemies, they literally, the abuse, because they were adults, the hateful things that they did to me, I then went out, and which is just how it works. I went out and literally abused people too. Remember, I'm gonna show it to you right now. Remember this? See, there it is. Hurt people. Now, in the process of hurting people, what did I do? I created more enemies. So literally, when I renounced the meanness and literally the Satanism that they were doing, that literally put me on a list to be targeted, to be witch-stalked, or later on in life, because they got it very clearly from things that literally happened where they literally tried to end my life, and I have the memories, and maybe depending, I might share some of them with you, and if I do, there you will clearly see, okay, this is why this girl was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome disorder. It would make sense to you, but that's not the time. This is not the time or the place. But literally, the things that they were doing to me, they didn't work then because of my innocence, because I was young, because I was covered by the blood of the Lamb. So literally, let's just wait and let her let her grow up a little. Let her gain a few more seasons on the earth. And literally, let's just keep abusing her and molesting her and treating her this way and treating her that way. And what happened when I went to school? There it is. Again, hurt people. So now you have a situation where I've got my name on a list by these witch-stalker, gang-stalker people. Okay, now I'm going to school, being abusive and acting out the witchcraft and the hatred and the cruelty and the abuse that I was suffering in my childhood home. So some of the people that I was being mean to and hateful to put my name on some of their lists. So you see the situation that I'm in. And now as an adult, learning, getting an understanding how some of this witchcraft works, that it's the sin in your life that these demons cling to, literally is what one of the titles that the enemy, the devil, Lucifer, Satan, call him what you want, one of the titles that he has is he's an accuser of the brethren. I say an accuser of the idren, because it's not just the brethren, it's the sistren too. I mean, please don't think that he's accusing the brethren and leaving us scot-free. No, he's accusing everybody, okay? And what is it he's accusing us of? Our sins. Okay, and that's what these demons use to justify clinging to our aura. If you want to use that word, maybe that might work for you better. Clinging to our aura, or what's another word? Roaming around in our soulish realm. Okay, maybe that's another expression you might know, or I could use to get you to understand what I'm talking about. But it's literally sin. That's what they can cling to. So what we need to do is get the sin off. Okay? We need to confess, we need to repent, confess, and ask the Most High to wash it off of us in through the blood of the Lamb. So here's the situation. In order to be forgiven, I have to forgive. Okay? So think about that. I have to forgive in order to be forgiven. In order to be forgiven for the hateful, cruel, abusive things that I did to people, that was a result of the hateful, cruel, abusive things that were done to me in my childhood home, because I was in a childhood home where witches literally had access to me and wanted to render some type of payback on me, because I, as a 3-year-old, had the gall, in their eyes, I had the gall to renounce what they were doing because I wanted to go back and be with baby Jesus. These people literally abused, tormented, harassed, horrible things to me and my brother, and I have to forgive them. If I want to be forgiven for the things that I did to others, I have to forgive them. If I want to be forgiven of the hateful, cruel, abusive things that I did, I have to forgive my perpetrators, because now I realize that the Most High literally used that situation to get me in line, to keep that desire to go back to heaven. As a little girl, it was because I want to go back and be with baby Jesus. Well, now I know as an adult, I mean, from the simple part of this all the way to the grander part of this, to the bigger, more complex part of it. The simple part, what I know that his name wasn't Jesus. Okay, I know that he wasn't white and didn't have long hair and a beard. Okay, but still, who he was, what it was that he did, the love and such that I had for him. That woman that came and sat in that chair, very on the edge of the bed, on the edge of that chair, she literally knew that I had a love for Jesus, and one of the ways to rescue this child out of it, this woman was a bold woman, was clearly one of those members in that church who really did have a testimony. She clearly, boldly came up in there and told that little 3-year-old, you can't go to heaven if you keep hurting people. And literally, that's all that was clear. I mean, literally, she did what my brother was trying to do, but as a 5-year-old. Again, if I was 3, he was 5. He didn't know how to say it in a way to. He just didn't. But she literally she said it, and I can only think that maybe my brother must have known her, must have said something to her, something along the lines of I'm trying to tell my sister to not hurt people either, but she doesn't understand. And this woman took it upon herself to explain it to me, boldly came up and sat in that chair in a house in a part of town where she was probably not welcomed, but sat in that chair and literally told me that, and it made very clear sense. You keep doing what you're doing, you're not going to get to go back and be with Jesus. You're not going to get to go back and be with baby Jesus. That's all I needed to know. As a 3-year-old with the love of Jesus, that's all I needed to know. I didn't understand the hardship and the torment and the turmoil that it would create for me. But with my attitude, with my character, which was all clearly, strangely, wonderfully made by the Creator, he knew, okay, there we go. Because then when they started to abuse me, my attitude, my behavior, my mindset, I hunkered down. I wasn't going to give in to you now, not for nothing now. You should have tried another approach, but you try to like browbeat me and do me viciously to get me to change my mind. Not gonna work. Let me just put it to you this way: when I was one of my first YouTube channels, the username was Rebel Frack. Literally, that kind of like rebellious thing. That stuff was there for me, and so it didn't work. But what it did was the abuse and such they did to me, I just hunkered down and just endured it, because no matter what they did to me, I wasn't going to change my mind and go back. And literally, as the years rolled by, I couldn't even tell you why they were abusing me. I couldn't even tell you why I had that attitude that I had. But if they had come in the room and said, sit down, I would have stood up. If they would have said, go close the door, I would have kicked it open even further. That's the way I was. And that had a lot to do with more of the abuse that I suffered through. But again, like it says right here again, hurt people hurt people. clearly going to school and hurting other kids created more enemies for me. And so, yeah, now me wanting to deal with and confront these witch stalkers, I need the help of the Most High. I need the blood of the Lamb. I need it to cover me, to wash me, to cleanse me of all of that. In order to do that, I have to forgive them so that I can be forgiven. And that's literally why I have that position that I have, with that stance that I take when I speak to you about the importance of forgiveness. Because unless, of course, you are one of these people who is going to leave a comment and say, well, I ain't did nothing to nobody, so I don't need to be forgiven of nothing. Or I understand what you're saying, but my situation is, so these people, what they did to me, they ain't gonna be forgiven. I'm just gonna say it to you again. Try to change it up and say it in a way that maybe will make sense to you. We are connected, literally. Predator and prey are connected. There is a symbiotic relationship that is there. And literally, the Most High Creator, He put it literally in the animal kingdom where you can see it. It's even in the plant life. Literally, if you find, literally, some of you know this. You can probably expound on it better than I can. But if you literally have a poisonous plant, but within a few feet to a few yards, you will find the plant that carries the remedy for that poison. Where you find, let me see if, as it was taught to me, where you find poison ivy, look nearby and you will find mugwort, which is where you can use that to create the salve to clear up the poison ivy. Where you find a shark, not too far from that, you're going to find a dolphin. Okay? Where you find a wolf, you're going to find a deer. There is a symbiotic relationship. One of the reasons why, if you go out in Northern California, you go out into some of these nature preserves and some of these parks, wherever you find bay trees, you'll find hardly any ground cover. Why? Because bay trees are not one of the indigenous trees to this area. There is no predatory plant to balance it out. That's why literally, if you go literally where you have bay trees, you will find hardly any undercover, because it's an acidic plant, but it doesn't have that natural predatory plant that would help balance it out. It's not there. For a while there was a big move to get rid of all of the non-indigenous plant life out of Northern California, because the underbrush is needed to help deal with the forest fires. Okay, I mean, you see what I'm talking about. But that's literally the Most High put it in every level. So if you put it in that level, if you put it in the plant life, if you put it in like the ocean life with predators in the ocean, if you put it in literally canines and what felines and their predators, you think it's not going to be here amongst us? Literally, if you want to be forgiven and get this stuff washed off of you, so that these witch stalkers, when they send those demons have nothing to cling to, and they have to literally wander, as the Messiah said, in a dry place, in a dry place, or a waterless place, however you want to refer to it. If you want that to happen, there can't be any sin in your life. If there's sin in your life, what is it that you're going to need to do to make sure that the sin gets off you? You're going to make sure that you forgive too. It's as simple as that. And the Messiah, He got it. Why do you think it was that He said, when He was literally nailed to that stake, and His tormentors were standing around Him, literally saying things like, well, He helped other people, let's see if He can help Himself. Literally, probably, I'm going to guess that He looked down at that crowd of people, and there were probably some of the very people who He had healed. Some of the very people that were friends and relatives of the people that He healed. And yet they were all standing there. What were some of those people saying? Some of my ancestors, what were they saying? Curse be upon us and upon our children and our children's children. Literally cursing themselves. Okay, wanting the blasphemy, what they were doing, they preferred it be on them, just to keep Him nailed to that cross and suffer and in anguish and die. And the Messiah, He got it. These people, they don't even understand what in the world they're doing to themselves. And He asked the Father to forgive him. Okay, literally, He is our guiding light and He is our example. So if we want to be, literally, the sin in our life is what is making it possible for the demons that these witch stalkers send at us from those altars in the midnight hour. Those demons are able to cling to us because of the sin that is in our life. because of the kid that we pushed down the stairs when we were 6 years old, because of the candy cane that we stole from the pharmacy when we were 4 years old, because of because of having an ancestor who murdered somebody and behind some wicked altar or something. Those sins, they cling to bloodlines, they become generational curses, and they stick to us. One of the things that King David said in that Psalm 64, he said that they do a thorough investigation of their victim. I talked about this in the video, some of the protocols of gang stalking. They do a thorough examination. They know everything about their prey, their background, who they are, or are they from a military background. If that's the case, then whatever witchcraft that was in their family background is going to be from this type of witchcraft. Were they from Mexico or Colombia? Okay, then the witchcraft in their life is going to be in this way. They do an exact examination. They know, right? I mean, some of this stuff, you guys, you understand what I'm saying? Literally, Psalm 64. What does it he say? He talks about the counsel of the wicked. One of the things that he says about them is he says, they search out iniquities. Sin, wickedness, they search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. So they know when they come at you, they know what they're going for. They know their target. They don't just shoot those arrows willy-nilly. They know who they're going for. They know what you did. They know what your grandmother did, what your great so-and-so did on this side of the line. They have the background, okay? And so when they shoot that arrow, okay, it's going to stick. The only way to make sure that it doesn't stick, or if it has stuck, that you can get it unstuck and off you, you need to confess and repent of those sins and ask the Most High with a sincere heart to wash them off you. And one of the things that's going to help, one of the necessary requirements is for you to forgive. You see the balance? You see the balance? You have to forgive them in order for you to be forgiven so that they can't keep attacking you. There it is. You want them out of your life, you got to forgive them. If you can't forgive them, ask the Most High to help you. Ask him to show you how. And when I say forgive, I'm not saying give them your bank account. I'm not saying give them access to your house. I'm not saying treat them as your bestie. I'm saying just forgive them. Just let go of what it is that they're doing with you. Get on with your life. You got so much to deal with anyways. Okay, you don't even have time. Just let them go. Especially if you've been dealing with this for a while. You know who some of them are by now. You know what they're going to do. If you go down this street, this perp's going to go. You know, if you go to this bus stop, that perp is over there. This is what they're going to do. Okay. I mean, literally, one of the things that Brother Doug was saying was that he realizes that it's a time period. They stalk him from this time up to this time. If I can endure it, then it's done. Okay, it's a pattern. We know how it works. So you know who some of these people are. So you can just let them go. It's not like if you let them go that your life is going to be empty, that you're going to be void of any and everything. You'll have the Most High will give you things to fill it with. You'll fill it with praise and just joy that it works. Okay, literally, if you do this, it will work. Try that. Try it. But this is what I was starting to put in that comment section, and it was so long I realized, okay, I better just do this as a video, because one, this isn't even my channel. Some people don't like when people leave those long huge comments, and I felt that it was better as a video to share with you. But that's really what it is the importance of forgiveness. If you've got bitterness and just resentment for the things that they've done to you, how they've ruined your life, and you want your life, you can have your life. You can have your life back. That's one of the things that the Most High has promised. He said that he will restore the years that were eaten by the cankerworm. He says that he will, and he will. All things are possible with the Most High. They really are. So you can, and that's what will fill that void. If you think that somehow that there's going to be a void when you let go of them, that's not the case. He's going to fill your life with those things that you left behind, that were taken from you. You'll be able to find them. You'll be able to find even something better. Okay, but you have to forgive them. Okay, now with that, let me just leave this as the commentators always say. And now a brief word from our sponsor.